What's up, folks? Thank you for joining me this fine evening. I'm back, and I'm going to be going over the ZeRo stuff, right? Some interesting things happened during the last couple of days. Obviously, Technical's video dropped, as well as ZeRo himself making a statement on the situation. ZeRo's been pretty quiet about it outside of just having these interviews with Technicals. If you guys remember, Technical's previous video was about Sky Williams, and he also had a snippet there of an interview that he did with ZeRo. And now that he has made the video regarding ZeRo, we get a little bit more specifics on the situation here. So we're going to go over that video. Of course, I'll try to get through as much of it as possible on this stream today because I don't know how long I'm going to go today. But we're going to try to get through that. Then we'll also get through ZeRo's response on the situation and just kind of go from there. So let me go ahead and just pull up. I'm going to start off by pulling up Technical's video. Very good video, by the way. I'll link it in the chat for those of you that want to check it out when you get a chance. So I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, wait. What am I doing? Why am I sharing my own stream? That's silly. Hold on. Give me a sec here. I'm going to share the same. Here we go. What really happened to ZeRo. All right. And let me go ahead and put this, for those of you that have not seen this video, if you want to check it out for yourselves, linking it right here in the chat for y'all. All right. So let's go ahead and get right into it here.
A lot of people who don't even know what's going on with ZeRo.
I had an initial paragraph about the stuff against ZeRo, then I rewrote it entirely when new information came out, and now I've deleted that entirely when even more information came out, and I am replacing it with, I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
In absolutely devastating and shocking news, ZeRo has come out with a brand new statement confirming everything is true.
Many members of the Smash community have been accused of...
So just real quick, if you remember when all these allegations were coming out last year with, Jisu, the stuff that she was saying, hey, what's up, Skip? How you doing? If you all recall that, ZeRo, when it came around to ZeRo and the allegations towards him, he really didn't fight it, right? He just kind of put out a statement where he essentially said, oh, it's all true, kind of admitting to stuff. And, he was really, by him kind of just acknowledging it and admitting to these things being true and apologizing. Of course, people always take an apology as an admission of guilt, as it is anyways. That's why a lot of times you'll hear people say, it's best not to apologize because people will take that as an admission of guilt, especially if you didn't do anything wrong. But he apologized. He made a brief statement about it. And then essentially, at least as far as what we saw in his message, pretty much canceled himself and yeeted himself. So people had no reason at that point to ask any questions about it because it's like, oh, I guess then it must all be true. I guess that's that. Because usually the way it is on the internet, we all know this, is either you have a piece of substantiated evidence that is difficult or just cannot be refuted, or you have to have an admission from one of the people being accused. And a lot of times that's all it takes, right? If somebody admits to doing something, that's a wrap. Like, I'll use the Mini Lad situation. Mini Lad had the allegations against him. The people that were the quote unquote victims of Mini Lad, they showed the receipts, and then Mini Lad pretty much admitted to it and then apologized for it. So that was pretty much it. That was a wrap. There was no need for anybody to look or say anything else because that was enough for them. And in ZeRo's case, he kind of did the same thing where he just kind of hey, yeah, that's what it is. Sorry. All right, I'm gone. But we get a little bit more details as to why that actually occurred in this video. So just stay tuned for that. I'm going to go ahead and proceed with the video.
Of harassment and assault, most notably Gonzalo ZeRo Barrios, known as one of the most successful Smash players of all time.
Sadly, ZeRo attempted suicide today.
Jisu has continued to post her own additional allegations against ZeRo as well, and seemingly will not let this go to rest until I'm not sure what is done here.
All right.
Today officially
the
marks
noir-
the beginning
the
and
noir look
end
going
of
on.
an era in Smash history. In the past year, we've seen a growth in distrust of leadership, entire cases turned upside down, and a once silent majority no longer afraid to question the status quo. I mean, why shouldn't they? The loudest ones are the reason both you and I are here in the first place. But as I said before, that ends today. Because today I'll show you how two of the biggest cases in Smash history have never been solved. Until now. Gonzalo Raul ZeRo Barrios Castro, most famous for his 56 consecutive tournament win streak back in his prime, received attention from mainstream news publications for something a lot less awe-inspiring. It appears that much like D1, he incurred the wrath of his detractors by making an initial statement on those that were accused prior to himself. Jisu's tweet would reignite old stories, and even spark new ones as they tried to add their voices to the
Yeah, if we all remember this, right?
Conversation. As we all know, this resulted in her creating a 64-page, 58-page document that was used as the primary reference in both conversation and media coverage. However, even after all of our digging, we've only been over half of what's been said about ZeRo. If you're new here, don't worry, because I'm about to recap everything we already know about the ZeRo case. From 2009 to 2010, Craigslist was caught in a legal battle over their adult services category, which functioned as a message board for sex workers and online dating. Because of this and raising concerns over sex trafficking, Craigslist began pre-screening ads posted in the adults category to prohibit the publication of graphic images.
And that was actually, from what I remember, especially back in the day with Craigslist, that was actually, that was only one of the several things they had to crack down on. Obviously, there was what he's mentioning here, but there was also, I remember people were using Craigslist. People were, in those days, like those early days of Craigslist, especially, people were gangster with Craigslist. I mean, people were even bold enough to use it to sell drugs and stuff on. It was crazy.
With that being said, it seems unreasonable to assume that Jisu's claim of having been shown multiple ads in 2014, which shouldn't have existed in the first place, would be true beyond a reasonable doubt.
I have to check that out. I have to check that out. I didn't know that they had gotten it. I think I had heard something about that, but I don't know the full context of it or specifically why, but I'll have to check it out.
Coupled with the fact that she acquired ZeRo testimony in a house filled with 20 plus people who would have likely seen this happening, considering it was shown on a big screen television in a shared room of 5. Coincidentally, everyone that I reached out to for comment, like Orion and some of her past roommates, deny any knowledge of this taking place during their stay. Also, for accuracy's sake, she wasn't 15. She was 16 ever since she arrived at Sky's house, which would have made ZeRo 19 at the time. A day after Jisu posted her allegation, Leffen, purely out of the goodness of his own heart, posted an entirely fabricated story to make Jisu's look more credible. But it's okay because he did.
And just real quick, for those of you that have been keeping up to date, as far as I know, to this point, and somebody could correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, I don't believe that Leffen has said anything more since. Like, he's been very quiet about this entire situation, especially since I think Technicals put out the maybe even before Technicals put out the Sky Williams video. So he said what he has said, but yet doesn't seem to be. I mean, he already had the opportunity, right, to double down and triple down on this stuff before online, but it's been awfully quiet. It's been awfully quiet, to my understanding. Maybe he'll come out of the woodwork again, I don't know, and say something. But at least in regards to this particular situation, mum's the word. He's kind of been hands off of it for quite some time now. He seems to be just going about his business, doing other things. So take that for what it is.
It as his friend. In this story, he accuses ZeRo of looking at hentai with Japanese players he had just met at Apex when he was a minor, when in actuality, they were looking at fully clothed waifus. I'm not going to reveal the identity of the Japanese player who corroborated ZeRo's story simply because he wishes to remain anonymous. But if Leffen would like to have even one person involved back him up, he's more than welcome to do so. But he's not going to because no one agrees with him. Well, maybe except for Lima, who wasn't even there.
The fact that Leffen confirmed you look at hentai with people you barely know completely contradicts what you said about this being out of character for you to do.
Yeah, it's funny, right? How can you confirm something that you that you apparently weren't there for, right? I think Technicals mentions that here in this video too. But
imagine typing this out with 100% sincerity.
Aha! Checkmated, ZeRo. You do look at anime pussy in public. See? Look, everyone. Leffen proved it.
ZeRo manipulated and blinded his audience very well into attacking this victim, who finally mustered the courage to share her story against the biggest name in Smash.
ZeRo stabbed and wounded this infant, who finally found the courage to speak out after being shown a full-length director's cut of Boku no Pico. Stunning, and quite frankly, brave.
For those of you that don't know what Boku no Pico is, it is infamous in the anime scene for being one of the most uncomfortable, just creepy, just outright pedo word philic, types of anime out there. Now I myself, I've never seen it, but its reputation precedes it. You know what I mean? I have friends in the anime community that have talked about the atrocity that it is. So that's what he's referring to there, in case y'all are wondering. For those of you that don't know, just to give you a little bit.
God forbid a woman be uncomfortable. I'm sure we can all agree that harassing someone is bad, but making a 500+ word essay on an unsubstantiated claim that you have nothing to do with, I would argue, would make anyone uncomfortable, because you clearly have way too much time on your hands. I guess you could use the attention since you're not getting it from ESPN.
Ooh. Settled. Not so subtle, Dave.
Leffen still felt like he hadn't proved his friendship to ZeRo, so he shared yet another false story that accidentally damaged his reputation. Damn, Leffen really can't catch a break, huh? The goal of the Twitlonger was to show that ZeRo frequently exchanged hentai with his audience, which, much like the Apex story, would make Jisu seem far more believable. The context to these screenshots is that ZeRo would have constant disputes in his Discord over who could join his Mafia lobbies, so he half-jokingly decided whoever sent him the best hentai would get a spot. One of the only times that ZeRo has sent hentai to his audience directly is when he made an animation for his stream that triggered after a large donation, which had a hidden NSFW ending. But viewers demanded to see the full version.
To that, I would say like ZeRo doing that probably wasn't the best idea, right? If you think about it in the long run, in the broader sense, probably not the best idea to even have his chat do stuff like that, because eventually it was going to lead to people asserting things about him, right? Whether true or not. So just saying, side says Augie RFC has his streams unlisted, not in videos or tabs, but the streams are in a playlist section. Okay, I'll try to check that out later then, man.
So ZeRo decided if they tier 3 subbed and confirmed they were 18 or older, he would send them the full animation. However, one of ZeRo's mods who did receive it after asking him went on Twitter and framed it as if ZeRo was wholly irresponsible with ages, even though his trusted moderator, the one person whose age he didn't check, was a legal adult anyways.
Oh my god. See? Like that right there, right? We have a situation like that. And this is an issue. You know what this reminds me of? This particular instance right here. This reminds me of when for those of you that don't know, the whole Channel Awesome, Not So Awesome, that document that came out a few years ago, where really they came out around the height of the Me Too movement, where a bunch of ex-Channel Awesome employees got together. They wrote up this doc to essentially air out their grievances with Channel Awesome. Now, a lot of these were really like minuscule things that, you know, a lot of them were really, some were petty, some were reasonable, right, regarding working conditions and things like that. But some of them were just petty gripes. And others were, of course, accusations of wrongdoing, right, of misconduct, right? And one of the things that happened in that document, I recall, was that Juario got thrown completely under the bus, right, as being this creepy person. And a lot of people, they took what was said in that document to say, oh, Juario was grooming underage girls, when specifically, if you read the document, the girl that claims to have been groomed by Juario says that she was of age. She says, I was 18 at the time, though I had the mind of a 16-year-old, which is absolutely fucking ludicrous if you think about it, right? That, you know, and people ran with it saying, oh, you know, he groomed an underage girl, when that's not actually what the girl said. And what she said was even stupider, right? Oh, I was 18, but I had the mind of a 16-year-old. It's just like, oh my God. Like, the fact that anybody took that document seriously for the most part is beyond me, because I thought it was very poorly put together. But look, Juario might have done other creepy things, but that specific part, I think, is one that was completely misrepresented by and large by most people, by saying that he groomed an underage kid when the person that said that they were groomed wasn't even underage. So just goes to show you how people are, you know, can easily twist stuff and run with stuff, right? They don't stop to read the rest of what the person is saying, right? This person, see, they put this here, right? So people run with the first part of it, and then later on the person says, but I was of age at the time. And then all of a sudden it becomes a thing. It becomes this thing of like, oh, look, he's doing this creepy stuff with kids. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that there wasn't other things that you know, came out later regarding ZeRo, because we see it here in this particular video. Hey, what's up, Common Rider 64? How you doing? So we'll continue on here.
Since publicly apologized for their tweets and confirmed that ZeRo did in fact check for ages. Don't ask why Leffen was trying this hard to prove Jisu right. You're going to break the simulation. Fuck you, Technicals. You are roach of cock. You are scum of Smash. And you make alert dramas like Camstar. Ooh, go cry about it on Reddit again, pussy. In a 1 in a trillion odds, Jisu managed to not only forget the very first line of her document, but also was unable to fit a 5-minute Google search of their ages into her already busy schedule. This resulted in hordes of followers demanding Vanessa's birth certificate after she accused her of being 15 while dating ZeRo. And when she spoke on this experience, she even goes as far as to say that it gave her post-traumatic stress disorder. But
when you think about this too, right, demanding, you know, oh, we should get her birth certificate and stuff like that, and we see this all the time, right? These are the same people, right? People like, and I mean people like Jisu, right? These are the same ones that they want to sit here and advocate for people, right? And they're the same ones that on one side of their mouth they'll say, hey, you know, don't tell that person's story, while forcibly trying to tell people's story. It boggles my mind that these people are so, that they lack so much self-awareness when it comes to a lot of these situations. So,
wait, there's more. In the same breath, Jisu also insinuated that ZeRo beats women, citing rumors as her source. The magnitude of this fuck-up is actually so impressive, I think we should just let it slide. I mean, she clearly can't help it at this point, and as an educator, I take punching down on learning disabilities very seriously. Recap over! Congratulations! You're officially caught up! Now it's time to introduce the final 3 stories we've yet to address, and hopefully by the end we can reach a verdict. Spoiler alert, Jisu's involved in all of them. How fun.
flying a minor out to a hotel.
What I didn't expect was another victim to speak up about ZeRo having asked her to do the same things while she was underage, and talk about possibly flying over and meeting her at a hotel in person.
This other victim that Jisu is referring to is Laura. In the screenshots that follow her explanation, Laura details how ZeRo was likely gaslighting her into believing that she had lied about her age, saying, quote,
I would have never in my life said I was 20. Like, this is 100% damage control. There's no way he didn't know I was underage.
Okay, so just real quick with that, right? We've seen this time and time again when it comes to allegations against people, right? We've seen it with more recently with the whole Amy versus H2 Delirious situation. We saw it with the Pyrocynical. We've seen it with James Charles, right? Where these people claim there's no way this person could not have known that I was underage. It's impossible. And it's just like, okay, well, do you have any evidence to prove that? And they'll say, well, no, I don't. And it's just like, well, did you tell me you were underage? Well, yes, I did. Well, obviously you would have kept that, right? Because that pretty much would be a game ender for most, if not all, of these people. If you have something that unequivocally proves that, where they acknowledge that you are underage, but they never are able to produce that. You know what I mean? Instead, they want you to be like, take my word for it. Okay. He should have known. And it's just like, that doesn't mean that he did know. You know what I mean? We see it all the time. All the time. So this whole thing of like, oh, there's no way he didn't know I was underage. Well, I mean, prove it then. You're so certain about that. There should be it's incumbent on you to be able to prove it because you're the one making the accusation against them. So surely you would have something that, again, unequivocally proves what you're saying to be true. So Andrew Hagar says, I mean, even though Juwario wasn't in the right either, he still should have gotten CBT for his problems when he had the chance to. Maybe, like I said, look, there's a lot of things that Juwario did that were obviously wrong. One of those things, I don't believe it to be that he was grooming underage girls. I don't believe that. You could say, he might have done some other shiesty things, but that document, like I said, has been skewed. It's been skewed and it's been misrepresented to make it seem like that was the case when really that was the only person that talked anything at all about grooming. And again, they themselves in the document specifically say that they were of age at the time, that they were legally an adult. Can't groom an adult. So let's go back here to Technical's video.
And
I had text logs last year when I tried contacting him on Discord and was really thinking of posting it online back then, but no one would have believed me, and I just gave up on it, I guess.
This is so fucking stupid. I had text logs last year when I tried contacting him on Discord and was really thinking of posting it online back then, but no one would have believed me. And I just gave up on it, I guess. People have ran with even less shit than this, right?
But I've reset my PC since then, so the Skype chat logs are gone.
Isn't that fucking convenient? Isn't that motherfucking convenient? I didn't post them because I didn't think anybody would believe me. Oh, and by the way, I reset my computer, so... Sorry, but they're gone now. Oops. Oopsie. But I had them. I promise you. Take my word for it. Trust me, bro. I had them. It's absolutely true. I had them. I had the smoking gun.
unquote. Damn, you reset your PC, so you lost the screenshots, huh? That's unfortunate. The issue isn't that she doesn't have the conversations, it's that they don't support her case in the slightest.
The Skype messages still exist, but that's not the point. And he thought I was older. He did nothing wrong. I wouldn't share those Skype messages with anyone though, at least not things that make him look bad, unless I trust that person to not share it with anyone. I'd never want to damage ZeRo's reputation.
So then on top of everything else, you have a fucking contradiction, right? On top of everything else. You know what I mean? Like, these people are unbelievable.
He didn't even know I was a minor. I'm not a bad person. I'm really sorry.
Well, it doesn't get any more obvious than that, does it? I'm in genuine shock I get paid to do this. This puts our
Let me contradict myself. What?
current lie tally
Oh my
from
God.
Jisu at a solid 3.5. Vanessa being
Such a
15, ZeRo beating women, flying out a minor, and half a point for the hentai and Craigslist story. Because while it's extremely unlikely, it can't be disproven either. But truthfully, who gives a shit? I debated adding this part because it honestly feels like a waste of time, so if you want to skip it, just know that it boils down to an anti-situation. The first woman, who is now 27 years old, is upset because she feels as if ZeRo tried to use her to add to his collection by asking her for nudes.
She paints the picture that ZeRo talked of women as if they were achievements, while boasting his easily obtained Infinity Gauntlet of pictures.
Keep in mind that there is no evidence to literally anything I'm saying right now, which is why I wanted to skip it in the first place, but since Jisu thought it was important enough to document, I don't really have a choice now, do I?
She feels as if ZeRo was her friend, yet blocked and cut her off when he started going steady with Vanessa.
According to ZeRo, he was never really close friends with her in the first place, and he was already cutting off people from his hometown because he never planned on going back. There is testimony from others that witnessed them hanging out and her general attitude of ZeRo, even though she stated that she had a boyfriend and that was one of the things she was upset about. But then that devolves into a he said, she said, and I don't have time for that shit.
The rest of her twitlonger appears to contribute a decent amount of her self-esteem issues to ZeRo, which I don't think is very fair considering their minimal amount of interactions. I'm not gonna lie, it honestly reads as projection.
The big takeaway here is that ZeRo now has a confirmed history of sexually exploiting women.
How? Fuck. Jisu must
How? Doesn't prove
have
anything.
seen something I didn't, because that is a loaded statement. You confirmed it? How'd you confirm that one? Oh, you listened to a couple stories? Here, take it. Just take it. No, seriously, you deserve it. Please, just take it.
Another person.
See, look, you know what this reminds me of, chat? If you guys remember the Vic Mignogna situation, right? And the whole investigation that Funimation did, remember that their investigation really just equated to them making a few phone calls, right? To people that were quote unquote victims of Vic and saying, yeah, I think they're credible. And that was it. You know what I mean? That's it. That's all it was. What it boiled down to, you know what I mean? Maybe there's some paperwork. I might be wrong. I mean, we might never see it. Maybe there's some receipts that they have that nobody else has. But essentially, at least as far as we know from what was said publicly, you know, looking, what was put in affidavits and things of that nature, you know, any kind of legal documentation regarding that case, it really just boiled down to them making a few phone calls and deeming the people credible through these phone calls. And that's it. And I'm like, how the fuck is that a responsible investigation? You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, yeah, you said this happened to you. Okay, I'll take your word for it. You seem credible. So I'm just going to take your word for it that you are. Andrew Hagar, Vic is not guilty. Nobody can unequivocally prove it with any evidence whatsoever. In case you didn't know, nobody's been able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty of any of the things he's been accused of. If you paid attention to the depositions between him and Monica Real, if you looked at the affidavits signed even by the witnesses, okay, that Monica had claimed to have witnessed, you know, her quote unquote assault, it flies right in the face of it. It's a complete contradiction. And her story on that entire situation changed no less than 3 times. If you see what she put in her affidavit, if you hear her deposition, and if you hear another time where she talked about it, or where she apparently had I guess talked to a reporter about it. The story has changed every time. It's never been consistent. Never. And mind you, in the, however, almost 20 some odd years, okay, in almost the 20 some odd years that Vic has been going, okay, has been going to conventions. All right. You're going to tell me, with the existence of phones that have not only the capability to take pictures, but also take video, that not one time a person caught him, you know, by chance groping somebody, you know, in a sexual manner, like, you know, touching their chest or their rear or anything like that. Nobody caught that, and these people that claim that they witnessed him doing these things never caught it on film at all, or called it out or anything. And all this time, yeah, no, I find that a little hard to believe. That in the information age that we're in right now, where everybody has their phone at the ready to take pictures and videos of everything, that you didn't catch not a single one of his misdeeds at the hundreds upon or I would even say thousands at this point, of conventions that he attended. Yeah, no. That dude, as far as I'm concerned, innocent, because nobody's been able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he is guilty of anything. Andrew Hager, I would strongly suggest watching Nick Recado's old videos on it. He went detail for detail into the depositions. He went over all the legal documentation. If you got the time for it, check it out one day. Not only that, I've had one of the witnesses, that being Stan Dolan, on my channel before discussing this very same thing. You know, Stan Dolan, who filled out an affidavit. So just putting it out there, but let's continue on here with this.
And also came to me recently to also validate that ZeRo regularly exhibited these behaviors. While she was not underage at the time.
A little odd that 4 of these cases involve fully grown women when we're trying to prove he's a pedophile, but okay.
Yeah, pretty stupid, huh? You know, they're trying to say that he's this P to the E to the D to the O, yet none of them were underage when they had these experiences with him.
It was clear that she only wanted to maintain a friendly relationship and not sexual. ZeRo stopped talking to her. This is when I first spoke to him in Smashboard's PMs, October 2014.
And here's the thing. Look, if that was the case, right? If this was somebody that ZeRo was courting at the time that was of age, okay, was trying to get with her, realized it wasn't going anywhere, right? And he said, well, I like this girl. And it looks like nothing's going to happen, so I'm not going to waste my time anymore. There is no fucking problem. There is no fucking problem.
So yes, same exact time period as Katie.
Guys, a woman was ghosted in 2015. Call the police. Oh my god, who fucking cares? Look,
Exactly.
I know
Nope.
it seems like I'm
Nobody
being
cares about this
insensitive,
stuff.
but both this and the woman I just spoke of isn't even a relevant issue anymore. This happened when? 6, 7 years ago? He's been with Vanessa for 5, and they're now married. You're bringing this up why? Oh, yeah, promiscuous behavior. Promiscuous. Having or involving many sexual partners. As is characteristic of most smashers, we all know that ZeRo was drowning in a substantial amount of pussy. Most times, you couldn't tell if there was a banana in his pocket or if he was just happy to play Diddy. Someone should really tell Nelly Furtado over here the difference between flirting online and getting your own reality TV show for being Mormon. Promiscuous girl, I own a car. Wherever you are, bitch better not be far. This, in my opinion, is probably the only serious and legitimate problem that people have with ZeRo. Everything else is either fabricated, as we've seen, or extremely, and I mean extremely...
Yeah, and this is one thing I will say before Technicals gets into this part. This is the one thing that I saw, right, on the surface that I would look at and say this is probably the most damning thing for him. But that's about it, this particular instance. But I'll give my opinion on it after Technicals kind of goes over it here, so...
over-exaggerated, which is honestly a testament to just how clean ZeRo's record is if they have to lie this much. Katie reached out to Jisu after her initial tweet and began recounting her experience with ZeRo in 2014. After sending several screenshots of their Skype conversations, the two quickly exchanged numbers and began planning out the twit longer. At the time of the messages, ZeRo was 19 and Katie was allegedly 14. I only say allegedly because there's no way I can confirm her age on account of her being anonymous. I genuinely tried to get in contact with her, but every lead either had me blocked or refused to say anything. So, can't say I didn't try.
Dear ZeRo, my name is Katie. I used to be in the Smash community. I was 14 years old during our conversations on Skype from September 2014 to January 2015. We met online when you were streaming on Twitch, and I messaged you over chat. You seemed to take an interest in me and gave me your Skype username. I, starstruck, made a Skype just for this and began chatting with you. I was a young girl enraptured with the idea of being friends with someone I looked up to and admired. You used me in this state to flirt, manipulate, and ask for sexual favors from me.
The worst offense, she claimed, was that he asked her to masturbate with ice and take pictures. Sadly, according to Katie, there is no evidence. This is the part where you angrily type in the comments,
But Technicals, he confessed. You don't need evidence, you victim-blaming piece of shit.
wow, just learn a new phrase? Nice. Very good, very good. Calm the fuck down. We're gonna read it right now. Jesus. Hey,
I can't sleep, and I just can't take this back and forth. I don't think it makes sense to keep this going. I just want this all to stop and for me to at least atone. I also want people to stop defending me. I don't deserve it. Katie, the screenshot you guys were wondering about the ice cube thing, it's true. The claims that Katie makes are true in general. There are no graphic pictures or anything of the sort, but it's unforgivable regardless. If you're an observant reader, you may have noticed the stark contrast of tone from his previous responses. That's because ZeRo wholeheartedly intended for this to be his suicide note. And had it not been for Vanessa, that may have well been the case.
See, and that's the reason why a lot of people, when he put that out, was just like, "Oh, I guess that's it. That's a wrap then. I guess there's no need to ask any more questions." So that's where things were kind of left at, where people were just like, "Oh, I guess he's apologizing. He seems to be admitting to everything." So, yeah, why would anybody else ask questions at that point in time? And granted, you probably should, right? Just to be sure, just to get clarification on things. People should probably ask more questions because you never know the state of mind people are in. Obviously, I don't know ZeRo. It could all be bullshit. It could all still be true, regardless. But it definitely is something you have to consider, right? You have to consider that maybe the only reason he admitted to it was because he was legit planning on offing himself. It's certainly within the realm of possibility. So it is something that has to be considered in the overall. The other thing I will say is, the messages between him and Katie, they're the most damning thing against them because of him. She does say in the messages that she is underage. She does claim to be underage, even though, again, we don't know for a fact because nobody else has been able to get in contact with her to reconfirm any of these things, right? We can only go off of what's been publicly shared. And the thing is, if you look at those messages, here's the interesting thing about those messages. And I'm sure that I think Technicals goes back into that, if I remember right, in this video. If you look at those messages, none of them are sexually charged conversations. They come off as kind of creepy, this stuff like, "Oh, you're so cute," this kind of thing, this here and there from the stuff that she's saying. But at no point do you see in the messages that have been shared publicly that there's any pictures being shared of any kind. Not that we would expect to see them anyways, right? We wouldn't expect, Technicals or anybody else covering this to share those. But what I'm saying is, like, you're not seeing a sexually charged conversation happening, which again, that would be a problem. At best, you could look at that and say, all right, it seems kind of creepy, but I don't see any kind of wrongdoing here. One could look at that and say, well, yeah, this is proof that he was a groomer, and it does look like it could be leading towards that, right? One could definitely infer that from seeing those messages, but you don't see anything of a sexual nature happening there. And really, you don't see anything that one could look at and say, well, that's illegal, what's happening here in this conversation. So just keep that in mind. All right, we're going to continue on here.
If it's not too personal, what stopped you from committing suicide after posting your final twit longer?
I was laying down. I think Vanessa was like holding me, right? I think at some point I looked at her and I was like, dead? Because at that point in time, when all that stuff was coming out, I remember I couldn't sleep for maybe like 2.5 days or something. And I remember I just looked at her and she was trying to stay up because she couldn't sleep, but she was kind of like, she wanted to sleep. And this is not the type to stay up.
I'm not going to lie. I was so scared of him going to the bathroom alone, him just being alone, because those moments for him were really difficult. And I cannot imagine how he felt as he was the one going through all of this.
I just felt so bad. I felt like I was putting her into this scenario. I looked at her and I just said, let me just go and end this. She was like, no, please, no. I remember she begged me not to do anything.
I felt like the world was crashing on us. And at that point, death felt nicer
Xylee, what's
than,
up, Xylee?
What was going on. I had to witness the love of my life having his world crushed.
I wrote up the thing and I was just sitting there for like 20 minutes just looking at the monitor. So the plan was that I was going to upload it and then I was just going to just cut myself. like, you know, with a knife that I had around. The main method I've always used has always been cutting. So yeah, that's just what I was thinking. I didn't have access to anything else at the time. I don't know what it was, but Vanessa kind of came into the room, and I remember she came to the office and she gave me like this very long hug. She was just telling me everything will be fine. I remember feeling like this warm because I felt really cold. She went downstairs. She made me my favorite food, which was like steak with mashed potatoes. It's a classic for me. She sat there. She was just like cutting the pieces herself and just feeding me because I don't know. It's just
Right there. There you go, guys. That's a lifesaver right there. Steak and mashed potatoes.
I was like a potato at that point. I don't know. It made me feel like this sense of peace that I didn't have at that point. I really do think that for some reason she wasn't in my life, or maybe she went to the store or something. I definitely would have died. I mean, I can't really explain it to you, but I don't really want to go through that ever again.
What changed between then and March of this year that prompted the sudden relapse? Because we saw a bunch of articles come out, and obviously Vanessa posted on Twitter that you were in the hospital.
See, and just real quick, this could be true, right? What he's saying here, or it could be a complete fabrication. Because one thing I said, and I criticized this right after the Sky Williams video, when ZeRo was talking to technicals, I said, all right, maybe that's true. What you know, maybe ZeRo didn't do these things, but still it's stupid that he admitted to them and then tried to say, like, in the interview that he had with technicals, he was saying like, oh, I didn't know that by me apologizing that was an admission of guilt. It's like, well, of course it is. Anytime anybody apologizes publicly, people are always going to take it as an admission of guilt, even if you're not specifically apologizing to that thing. But again, ZeRo was specific in what he was apologizing for, right? He was very specific what it was. He said, it's because of this. You know what I mean? This is all true. I'm sorry. You know, I already called my sponsors. It's done. You know, I'm basically canceling myself at this point. Don't defend me. Bye. And again, look, maybe that was all from a place of duress, and you know, he really did feel like, you know, yeah, I'm going to self-delete, so I'm just going to cop to it to give these people some peace of mind or something like that at the cost of my reputation. I don't know. Again, could it be true? Yeah, maybe it is. Like I said, I can't put myself in his shoes because I don't know exactly what he was thinking or what the goal was with doing that. I would think, if anything, you would want to clear your name, even if you're going to yeet yourself. But maybe he was in that dark enough place where it didn't matter to him. Like I said, it's certainly within the realm of possibility. But again, we don't know for a fact. I guess we just have to take his and his wife's word for it. I don't know. Maybe, I guess, so take it for what it is. I don't know. I mean, I always look at these situations and I keep a healthy degree of skepticism over all of them. I mean, because to me, it sounds like it could be bullshit, but at the same time, again, look, I wasn't there. I don't know. You know what I mean? I have no idea.
After another suicide attempt.
There was like a month in January where I was like, I think I can fix this. I think this is workable. I have hope. We can do this, you know. And then in February, I feel like realism sick, and then I was just like, you know, it's over. You know, there's nothing you can do. What I basically convinced myself was that I started slowly shifting my thoughts to, well, if I can't fix it in this life, maybe I can be Gonzalo too. I can die and then be reborn, and then I can try again. You know, honestly, looking back, I feel like I legitimately went insane. Now that I'm explaining it to you, it's embarrassing. It just sounds so stupid. I mean, I've always been kind of weak mentally, I think. Just the way I look at myself is very, very bad. Compounded with what happened, compounded with having pretty much no one at that point in my life, it just felt like I went crazy, and then, you know, I turned to the worst possible option.
And just to BMA Joe A says, if we could just get the full Skype chat logs, everything about ZeRo's case could be solved. It's so annoying. Yeah, we'd probably get getting the full context of the entire conversation would definitely help. But here's the other thing, though, too. If by chance, right, I'll put it like this. If by chance, right, if there's any truth to what this Katie girl said, right, and that she did send explicit pictures of herself to ZeRo, that's a game ender. That's a wrap. It's over. You know what I mean? I would think that because of her coming forth with her story, that she would have not obviously not shown that, because nobody ever expects people to do that. When people ask for proof, a lot of times they're not saying, hey, show proof of what you're claiming. a lot of people misinterpret that and think, oh, you're telling people to show CP. No. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody's asking to see pictures. What they're asking for is something that could definitively back up your claim of saying, well, he knew I was underage and he still asked me for this stuff anyways. And you could see it here where he's having a sexually charged conversation with me where he's telling me to send him such and such pic. And that right there is a game ender for you. You know what I mean? If you could show that and the person can't refute it, that's a wrap. That's it. That's all they need. You know what I mean? You're done.
Nobody in this situation can know for certain besides ZeRo and Katie. So let's look at what we do know, and I'll come back to this in a second. In the messages we were provided, it's very clear that ZeRo is being...
And just so you guys can see, I want to pause this because he goes through some of these messages here, right?
Nobody in this situation can know for certain besides ZeRo and Katie. So let's look at what we do know, and I'll come back to this in a second. In the message...
So you see these messages from ZeRo and Katie. These are from the Skype chat logs, right? So, all right, go ZeRo, imagine me with pom-poms and cheerleader outfit or something. And you see the response here from ZeRo. Lamau, adorable. And then she says, he thanks, wait, you, the legendary ZeRo, just called me adorable. And yeah, you are adorable, cutie, right?
Messages we were provided, it's very clear that ZeRo...
Then you see him say, LOL, you are so adorable. Oh my God, too much. Sorry, ZeRo, I was blushing like... she says, stop. Sorry, ZeRo, I was blushing like them tomatoes for you. I couldn't focus on my work. Sorry. I am not like that. Seems like you just did, honey. Haha. So
ZeRo is being flirtatious.
Yeah, again, we see this. Obviously these are very inappropriate. And there is parts, I think there's one part here that it gets to a point where one could look at that and say, that is suggestive, right? And it's coming up here soon. So you see it right here. He says, super cool, glad have you on board, honey. And then woohoo, party bus. Yay, tell me some more about you. Like, what do I not know about you? So right here she says, I'm 14 I'm 14, I'm a girl, I'm smart, but I love Smash. I could tell you my Smash backstory. Tell me everything. Yeah, and how's your life /stuff, right?
To the dates, he knew her age at the time. I'm not going to read.
So this right here, we see you're so overdoing this. Why? I love how you react. So funny things. Mad adorable. It's like when you rub a cat's belly and then you just roll around. Will you rub my belly? That's what this person says, right? Yeah. Why only do that? So we see here, that's where it gets to a point of like, okay, this gets a little creepy and suggestive, right? Because, why not, this person obviously saying, why not rub my belly? Then this is his response. Why not only do that?
Read them, but these messages on screen...
Do you see anything beyond that, though, right? Do you see anything more that this person says or him saying anything like that? That can be interpreted as whatever, but obviously not a good look for him, and it does look kind of creepy.
Are 100% unacceptable.
And then we see this, right? Translation equals I love you. So Sundere, what the hell? No, oh my God, you're so adorable. LOL. Translating, oh my God, I love this. Please continue. I'm melting. Oh my God, shut it. Oh, my best friend says hi, and she thinks you're cool since you're making my face so red right now. So again,
and he'll be the
this
first
is all
to tell
very
you that. A lot of concerned in
this to me, like I said, and this is where I would agree with Technicals on. This is what reflects the worst on him, because again, one could look at that and say it looks like, right, because it looks like there's suggestive language happening there, especially towards the end of that previous one, right, with the rub the belly thing, and one could look at this as him, yes, essentially grooming the person, right? But again, you don't have the smoking gun where you have a sexually charged conversation happening, because like I said, if you have that, let's say if those text logs ever get revealed and you have him dead to rights with him saying something like, hey, send me a photo of you topless, after she had already told him, you see it right there, she told him her age, it's right there in the chats. So you see that he's continuing to talk to this person after them telling their age to him, and then it gets into a place where it gets sexual or they're having sexually charged conversations. That's it. That's a game ender. It's like how do you try to be like, oh, but I didn't know? No, well, you did know at this point, because you could see it right here. because you responded after that. You know what I mean? You might have an argument, right? If ZeRo would have an argument if after she said her age, you know, he never responded back or dipped or was like, that's it, it's over. But he continued to engage in conversation with her. You see? Xylee says, I'm going to be honest, him saying that makes me believe about the ice. He was already suggesting with that statement. Yeah, like I said, it's certainly possible. But the problem is that we find ourselves in, you have to have something conclusive, right? It's creepy. It's absolutely creepy when you hear him say, like, why only do that? And it's just like, what else are you suggesting here? But then you don't see any further context behind that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of left at like, you know what I mean? Like, where are you going? You know what I mean?
Individuals on social media have been saying things like, ZeRo should be in jail, or my guy, he was getting pics from underage girls, he's a pedo. Well, if that's the case, then why?
And that's the other thing too. If that is proven, right? If like this girl sent him pictures, again, not that they'll ever be shown, and they never should be shown to the internet. They should be in the hands of authorities, if anything. But if that's ever unequivocally proven, like, and I think we'll know that if he ends up in handcuffs one day, that's a wrap.
It hasn't even Drake Belled yet. What the fuck? ZeRo will never see a second of jail time or even court over this. There's a few reasons why. First off, Katie is anonymous, and for legal action, you have to obviously file charges. Since there's no actual documentation or sexually explicit images exchanged, this isn't a place where the federal government would get involved either. Even ZeRo's confession wouldn't hold up in court because it was made under extreme stress.
And that's the biggest thing too, right? And I think that now that I remember, I think she had mentioned that she didn't have proof of any images being exchanged, because here's the other thing too. It's not just the sending of the images, right? It's the sending of the images and the receiving of the images. You know what I mean? Now, is it possible? Is it possible that he could have told her on a different chat, you know, hey, make sure you're deleting everything, blah, 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 this, that, that. Maybe it's possible, but that's never stated though here either, not by her. You know, she never said, hey, well, he made me delete stuff. So there's where we have another issue with all this, right? She claims this stuff happened, but she never said, because we've seen that with other instances where people have claimed that, well, I did send stuff, but that person made me delete everything. We've seen that happen before, but we don't have that here. You know what I mean? Which you would think, right? If that's what occurred, she would have said something like that, but she doesn't say that. So that leads me to believe that it didn't necessarily could have happened. Again, always within the realm of possibility, but it leads me to believe that it did, right? That images were not exchanged.
Outside pressure. If that's what you were expecting, I'm sorry to break it to you, but realistically, it's not going to happen. Now, the million-dollar question is ZeRo a pedophile? Now, I know that this is a very emotionally charged subject, and some of you have probably already made up your minds. But when it comes to a label that would suggest past, present, future, and potential harm of children, I think it's important to make sure that the shoe fits nice and snug. For instance, let's take someone who more than likely could be categorized as a pedophile, EDP445. EDP had messaged multiple underage girls, and despite almost getting caught one time, still ends up in a sting operation with a 13-year-old.
Couldn't help
himself. You've been exposed for this before. Correct. Do you fantasize about females under the age of 16, yes or no? Sometimes. Yes. Okay.
People who are pedophiles like children. We've seen the same thing happen on To Catch a Predator. It's nothing new.
You know, you look familiar to me. Oops.
That's right. Oops, he's done it again.
Repeat offenders literally cannot help themselves. It's classified in the DSM-5 as a paraphilic disorder.
Yeah,
which
they have a
means
compulsion
that they have
to do this.
persistent sexual urges or fantasies about children and act on them, or it causes them extreme distress or difficulty in their interpersonal relationships. Jisu didn't have third-party witness or evidence, yet had she not come forward, ZeRo would still be manipulating children in our community.
Think about how stupid that sounds, what Leffen said there. Just let that sink in for a moment, right? Don't have any witnesses, you know, or anything, or any real tangible proof, but had he not done this, this monster would still be free to do what he wants, even though there's no real proof that he did what they've said. There's no smoking gun.
Let's ignore the fact that the earliest evidence for this claim by Leffen is 7 years ago during the
Xylee says, I'm sorry, I don't believe the mental duress for that confession. It could have been clearing his conscience instead. Yeah, I'm not sure how much I believe that either. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I look at it like this. It's possible. I always look at the possibility that these things, you know, I mean, maybe. I mean, it doesn't, when you think about it, right, on the surface, it sounds ridiculous to me, if I'm being honest. You know, I'm trying to look at the situation as objectively as I possibly can. It seems kind of dumb to confess to something like that before offering. I would hope that you would want to clear yourself, but maybe he got to that dark enough point where he just didn't care anymore and he thought it would give somebody peace of mind. I don't know. But the thing is, I remember when he gave that confession, like I said, nobody asked any more questions because they were just like, okay, it's an open and shut case. I guess he did these things. So there was no need for anybody to ask any more questions. And like I said, when Technical's video came out on Skyhouse and he had ZeRo on the call saying, well, you know, I wouldn't have apologized if I knew it was going to be taken an admission of guilt. And I find that a little bit hard to believe because ZeRo has been online long enough to know that, yeah, when you apologize, of course people are going to take it as an admission of guilt. That's just the way the internet is. You know what I mean? Even if you're not specifically apologizing for what it is that you did. But the problem with what ZeRo did was that he was very specific with what he was apologizing to. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Katie. What she said is all true, blah, blah, blah. That's a wrap. And it's just like, why would you do that? Now, again, in fairness to ZeRo, maybe he found himself in a dark enough place where he felt that maybe in his mind, oh, maybe I'll just give her what she wants so she'll feel at peace. And, you know, I'm going to go, you know, self-delete, whatever. But it does sound kind of dumb, you know, and I could agree with Xylee on that. It sounds kind of ridiculous. But again, I don't know how people react when they've got their backs to the wall in those types of situation and feel like there's no hope. You know, people do a lot of really dumb shit. So I don't know. I don't know the kind of guy he is. That's the other thing too. I only know ZeRo as a Smash player, as a really good Smash player that on occasion would get under people's skin for some of the shit he talked, and that's about it. I don't know the kind of person he is. I cannot speak to his character outside of what he accomplished in the Smash community. Ori, you should get in here with me, man. You should get in here with me.
The same time frame that ZeRo is involved with 3 grown women and 1 lying that they were. Even after gaining significantly more money and more access to minors, there's been no new cases. Before he was canceled, he even ran an entire team of children. This would be the perfect case study if I've ever seen one. So I reached out to some of Team ZeRo to see what they had to say on the matter. Yeah, I was a part of a lot of videos he made regarding the young members. As far as I remember, there were no issues or inconveniences during the time he ran the group. Overall, he was a really nice person and always treated all of us with so much respect. It was really awesome to see how someone who I looked up to supported both me and the other younger members so much. He honestly has helped me a lot in many areas. I'm sure it's the same for anyone else he has helped, and I will always be grateful for that.
So Kirash, when did you start your time on Team ZeRo?
Well, I actually started as a member when I was 15 years old. Right now I'm 17. When I was 15 years old, so March of 2020. Okay, so as I'm about to turn 16, that's when ZeRo reached out to me. We did a video together, we played, and then he said that he is going to invite me to Team ZeRo, and that's when it happened, March 13th of 2020.
It's my understanding that you guys had like a group chat too. Did you ever get any weird vibes from ZeRo? Did he ever ask you guys to do something you probably weren't comfortable with?
Absolutely not. Of course not. We had a Prodigy group chat, and like we had ZeRo in it as well. He wasn't very active, but like when he was active, he would just ask us to film a video with him. He did an Amiibo video. He did a video where he would fight each of us. It was just mostly us Prodigies interacting with each other. But no, he's done absolutely nothing weird in the group chat. Like he's.
And just real quick here, this is a good point brought up by Skip earlier. People have confessed to murders they never committed. So yeah, and that's again, if we look at a great example example of that actually was Henry Lee Lucas. I don't know if you all know who Henry Lee Lucas is, but he's called he's been often one of the things he's been called is the quote unquote confession killer. He was a guy that confessed to a bunch of different murders that he never even committed. Now, mind you, he did actually commit some murders, but he admitted to a ton that he had no involvement in whatsoever. And he did it because he felt like he was helping out the police by helping them close out cold cases that they had on certain murders. So he's just like, I'll help you all out. Yeah, I did that one too, even though he didn't know any of the details. None of his testimony lined up with like the evidence they had and stuff like that. And it was police basically being sloppy and just wanting to close out cases, that they took advantage of this guy that was just flapping his gums about the fact that he was admitting to stuff that he never actually did. Yes, you've seen it. Yeah, it's on Netflix. So they do have a documentary about him on Netflix. It's actually called The Confession Killer, I believe, on Netflix. But yeah, he's I've seen other documentaries about him, but that one's actually pretty good too. And he's one of those guys. Yeah, he just decided, hey, I'll just confess to all these murders and stuff, and I'll be the most prolific killer in history. You know what I mean? And I'll help these boys out too. These police that they treat me good, so I'm going to help them out and I'm going to help them close their cases. It's ridiculous, but yeah, it does happen though. It does happen. There are people that have confessed to stuff that they haven't done before. So that's another thing to keep in mind with all this.
He's only spoken a few times, and when he would, it was just for getting us to film a video with him.
Oh, okay. So it was more like purely business.
Yeah.
Knowing that there was a private group chat and this went on for 4 months, I just wanted to reach out to some of you guys in Team ZeRo to see if there was any red flags or if you ever felt like ZeRo was using you as a way to kind of get some gratification.
No, never. I've never felt anything like that. I felt like this was just like I was just like happy and I felt proud of myself. Like I don't think that's the case.
Well, thank you for your time, Kirash. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to check out his YouTube channel, he does some Smash news there, a few recaps, and he's also an incredible Luigi player. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll link that in the description. But yeah, thank you for your time, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Let me get this straight. He had the Disneyland equivalent of a pedophile's paradise and didn't ride Space Mountain once. Damn, ZeRo's really dropping the ball here.
So what? His whole team was full of dudes. That only proves he isn't a gay smash pedophile, technicals. Who cares?
To which I'd respond, I guess that means you can cross off 90% of his options. You'd think he'd diversify his profile a little bit. Let's just recap. It would be impossible for ZeRo to go to jail over this. He never exchanged any image.
Demon King Drago, thank you so much for the 20. Speaking as someone who was suicidal, I placed myself as the problem while I was abused. I couldn't figure out why I retaliated to my stepfather's abuse. It's a dark place of the issue, and if I'm gone, I won't be anymore. Yeah, I've heard stuff like that, man. Hey, I'm sorry you went through that, man. Love to, send love Demon King Drago's way. That sucks that happened. But yeah, I know that a lot of people have that kind of mindset when they're in these dark places where they feel like, they don't feel that they feel like they're gonna unburden people by just not being around anymore. Sometimes they put themselves in, they have that kind of mindset when they're in these dark places sometimes, like, oh, you know what, I'm a problem, I'm a burden to everyone else. I'm doing this, I'm doing this also to not cause issues or inconvenience anybody else anymore. So maybe, like I said, that could be where he was at. Again, I'm not going to pretend to be some kind of therapist or know what was in ZeRo's mind and heart. That's why I say, I look at it, again, purely surface value, and I think there's some shit that sounds dumb, but other things where I'm just like, you know what? I don't know what's in his mind and heart, so I can't just dismiss it either. I have to consider the possibility that ZeRo is telling the truth, just as much as the possibility that he might be just flat out lying and it's all a bunch of horse shit, So
Every other story involves an adult, and he hasn't had a slip up in 7 years. He must be the Dexter of pedophiles or the most patient barber I've ever seen, cause this isn't cutting it. Do I condone the conversations that took place? No, and I hope I've made that very clear. What I'm trying to say is that I don't believe this to be the result of a specific or malicious preference, as is the case with repeat offenders such as pedophiles and Discord mods. What I think we're looking at is a culmination of a fucked up childhood and trauma, resulting in emotional immaturity and a lack of genuine and fulfilling relationships. When ZeRo first publicly shared a story of how he grew up in Chile, we discovered how his father exposed him to sex at the age of 5. And brutally beat him and his mother. After the age of 11 to 12, he hardly received a proper education, and when he finally went to middle school, he was molested by an older boy, and began to think and act as if he were gay to cope with the trauma. Just one look at Chile's extraordinarily progressive age of consent laws should give you an idea of how that worked out for him. I'm not just saying this so you'll pity him. I'm just saying his circumstances were pretty fucked, and it's not unreasonable to assume that a traumatized, depressed shut-in would have a lack of meaningful and genuine relationship experience. But I don't know ZeRo enough to make that conclusion.
Yeah.
So I found someone who would.
See, and again, these are things just to consider in regards to his case overall, right?
So Vex, what is your relationship to ZeRo?
Well, he was a part of VVV with Chia, and that was like his first connection. And Chia brought him over to my place to stay. It was like, hey, I got a friend that can house you. And then he left, and then he came back around the end of 2012.
So he would be going in between like Chile and then back with you?
Yes. In 2014, that's when he really like stayed with me, and that's when we did like the big stream. You know, he was living with me for a majority of that year. And then around of like the end of 2014, that's when he moved out to California.
What was he like? What was Gonzalo like in 2011 to like 2014?
He was a confused teenager. You know, he was hyperactive, young, confused teenager.
What do you mean by confused? Like, is there any examples?
He didn't even know his sexual preference at the time. When he was 17, he actually got in a relationship with somebody that was older than him. It was 2 years older. I think the person was 19. I tried my best to help him, you know, put him in the right direction as his oldest friend, but...
Was this a same-sex relationship with someone older than him?
Yes, it was.
I mean, when I was 17, I was still trying to figure out if I was gay or not. I didn't feel normal around girls. I just didn't feel like I was appropriate for girls. And I tried being gay for like a year. Felt like I was forcing myself to do something that I didn't want to do because it felt like the other option was worse. So I was a mess, you know.
Now, you know, to ZeRo's point on this, right, and what they're saying, I can believe this because I actually had a friend that that I grew up with that unfortunately was a victim of, you know, sexual abuse when he was younger. And at some point in time, later on in his life, not in his teenage years, but in his early, I would say in his early 20s, did try to experiment, you know, because he thought he might be gay because of what he had experienced at the hands of his stepfather. You know what I mean? And it was kind of like that. It was something that he did, thinking that, okay, well, maybe I'm this way. This is my preference. And it just, you know, he went through a lot of confusion up until his early 20s when he was really finally trying to, all right, well, maybe I am this. You know what I mean? Because I've struggled with identity and things like this. Maybe this is the way I am and stuff. So for some people, it happens sooner rather than later. But that's where he was at that point in time in his life. I think it was just like kind of fresh out of high school. Maybe I just, was maybe like maybe about 20 years old when he finally decided to see if that was his preference or not because of confusion. I mean, he had dated girls and stuff through the time he was in high school, but obviously those relationships were bizarre. They were a little strange and not the most comfortable for him. So,
and then after that, I was just kind of like, I don't want to do anything with anybody at all.
Did you ever notice
take care,
anything
Andrew Hager.
off about him? Like, was there anything weird when he was staying with you?
I want to start off by saying he was annoying and like really hyperactive. Didn't really understand, what was okay to say and what wasn't okay to say. He didn't even know what mold looked like on waffles.
So he was socially awkward, which we've seen that before with people, right? That have limited social interactions. They kind of they're not the best at reading the room, right? Thank you, Titan Master J, for the 5. Listen to this segment in the vid. It is a huge part in this situation, and I can't say that enough. Oh, absolutely. We're definitely going to be paying attention to what is being said here for sure.
He didn't what?
He didn't know what mold looked like on waffles because he ate moldy waffles.
He ate moldy waffles.
Yes.
It's embarrassing to say, but I didn't know a lot of very simple things. Like I didn't know why, for example, World War II happened straight up until I was like 19. I didn't really learn about it in school. I just know this guy with a mustache, really horrible human being. That's kind of what I knew. But I didn't know any more than that. You know what I mean?
Of course, there's the time that him and MTK were literally like in a Walmart hiding, playing hide and seek.
Hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Hide from ZeRo.
Okay, do it.
Oh my gosh.
Where is he? Put the camera away, man. We're in a store.
Come on, it's fun.
Nice to have it out in a store.
Okay.
ZeRo.
What?
Put the camera away.
Okay.
We're in a store in America.
It's fine.
It's not nice to do.
It's not nice?
No.
Why?
There's other people around. If they see them in your camera, they might get upset.
Really?
Yes.
No one got upset. It's fine.
Not courteous.
Okay, just give me 1 minute.
No.
Did he tell you anything?
So you see right there, I think that's a prime example of him lacking some self-awareness, right? And just taking on basic etiquette and social cues, right? You see his friends are telling him straight up, hey, listen, some people think that's rude. They'll feel like it's an invasion of privacy. It makes them feel uncomfortable, like, put away. And he's like, you could hear that he has no problem with it, right? So you can see right there, really caught on video that he's a strange guy, just a guy that can't really read the room, it seems.
Thing about his past childhood or his family?
Well, his parents split up when he was very young, between like 4 or 5 years old, and he had a lot of issues in school. Particularly, he was getting bullied a lot, so he didn't go to school because of that. And then afterwards, he decided to go back, and then he completed middle school and high school within like a 3-year period.
Just a lot of really bad things. Not only just me, getting molested, but also just the fact that I got into a lot of fights at school. A lot of, maybe like in 6 or 7 really bad fights. I actually got expelled for one of them. But I remember my mom went to like 10 different schools. No one will take me. And for the next 2 or 3 years, I was homeschooled. Being homeschooled meant I did nothing. I just didn't go to school. Maybe 12 to 13 to like almost 16 here. I just kind of just sat home and played video games. I didn't do anything. But I felt like I had no purpose in life. I took this test that kind of catches you up on a few grades. And I remember it was very embarrassing because when I took the test, the woman who was doing the test, it was this old lady. She felt bad for me. So she actually cheated on the test for me. Straight up just told me, you're the youngest person who's taken this test in a long time. I don't want to fail you. So she kind of just let me pass. And I'm pretty sure she inflated my grade too. So it's not like I did anything, And then my mom begged me to go to high school. So I went to this special high school. It was not a normal high school. It's a special high school where other kids that have issues go to that high school. And it's like easier. The kids are older. So some of the kids that I went to high school with were actually 20. Some people were like 25.
Sounds like a charter
It was not
school.
a normal high school with teenagers. I went with
Sounds
some
like it went to
adults.
some
I
kind
don't
of
think I would
charter
have
school.
passed a normal high school. I don't think so.
When you look at ZeRo's development over the years, even as recent as his marriage to Vanessa, you'd be hard-pressed to establish any kind of significant behavioral trend, considering how the single instance in 2014 is the only existing point of contention. Now, if that's enough for you to still be against ZeRo and think that he's an irredeemable person, I kind of understand where you're coming from. But if what Leffen and Jisu said is true, you wouldn't need to lie this much to prove it. A pedophile will usually do that themselves. This may be a little personal, but I like ZeRo, and if he decides to continue making content, I can't think of a single reason not to. If you just thought to yourself, wow, that's a pretty risky and controversial opinion, Technicals, then I'd argue that this opinion is 1,000 times less controversial than what a majority of the Smash community already openly accepts. Remember when I said at the beginning, I'll show you how 2 of the biggest cases in Smash have never been solved? Well, the other one is Nairo.
So to his point here, and I've talked about this before on past streams, okay? And we'll get into, before we get into the Nairo stuff real quick. If you guys have heard streams that I've had Manny on, Manny and another friend of ours who also used to make content here on the channel with us, Jovi, he helped co-direct some of the early Henshin Time episodes that we did here on the channel. Jovi and Manny started up a local, tournament organizing, league here locally for Smash. And the thing is, they can tell you from firsthand experience, and from me, just from helping them with certain events of theirs, there is a lot of the Smash community in comparison to, say, like the Tekken fighting community, the Tekken community, the Street Fighter community, and some of these other fighting games is a little bit different. It's a lot different from the rest of them, in the sense that you get the biggest mixture of characters in the Smash community. With the fighting game community, just the base fighting game community, like I said, Tekken, Street Fighter, and all that, you kind of get what you would expect. With the Smash community, it really is this colorful array of different people of all ages. Okay. It brings out the young and the old more than any of the other fighting game communities that I've seen, or the other fighting games, I should say. You'll have kids competing against adults and things like that. And you'll see furries. You'll see, like I said, you'll get some very eccentric personalities that come out to the Smash community. One could look at that and say probably, you like to think hopefully most with good intentions, but I have definitely heard of situations, of uncomfortable situations that people have been in. So you got to understand you have a community, right, that has the doors open for adults to interact with children. You know what I mean? Not just, people that are underage, but I mean children, prepubescent children, which without the proper moderation could lead to some very potentially bad things happening. We know this because of situations like Captain Zack, for example. But we'll get into the Nairo because Captain Zack is a part of that. So,
after I made the curious case of Captain Zack, I made a public apology and removed Nairo's mention from my ESAM video. Not because I thought he was innocent, but because I couldn't prove he was guilty. In hindsight, I missed a few glaring holes that I probably could have discussed in the video. What I didn't anticipate was the influx of canceled players DMing me. But after noticing how positively Nairo's return was received, I got an idea. I could use this newfound wave of acceptance and critical thought to get even the worst of my skeptics to believe that there were others like Nairo. If you can start a hashtag after fucking over Nairo and then give him thousands of dollars, the least you could do is write a tweet. Hashtag apologize to Scott. Well, I do see the disconnect logically to say that Anti being lied to, still a child predator, but Nairo being lied to, he's a hero.
It's also because Nairo's a love player and I've always been a hated player for my whole career. So it's like, there's definitely a bias to it.
However, that card has far outplayed its use. So it's time I tell you what I really think. Nairo's case, in its current state, is objectively worse than anything that ZeRo has ever done. Yet he was officially unbanned from 2GG and Collision, removed from the global ban database, has a hashtag that trends every other month, and still has a significant audience over on YouTube. What do I mean by in its current state? Well, exactly what I've been saying. You can't exactly prove that Nairo is innocent or guilty of sexual misconduct with a 15-year-old in 2017. And while Zack might not have been entirely truthful, that doesn't mean Nairo is. I cannot offer any more details, but should Zack or any other party continue to escalate this, my attorney will be dealing with this legally while I continue therapy. What do you mean if Zach continues to escalate this? You said that you were planning to take legal action, and the reason you couldn't share your 30-page document was because of legalities and you were saving it for court. So why is this addressed as a cease and desist if you're taking action regardless? Correct me if I'm mistaken, but your attorney said that you've had no criminal charges filed against you. So wouldn't any legalities be a direct result of you and your attorney's decisions? There's a very, very, very slim chance that an 18-year-old like Captain Zach did anything beyond a consultation before essentially agreeing to the terms of your settlement. Even if it were the case that your settlement required you to not release the details of your innocence, why on God's green earth would you ever agree to that? Call it a detective's intuition, but something doesn't feel right here. On the same day that this was posted, 3 other tweets would come out within 22 minutes in support of Nairo. I'm going to read all 3, and you tell me if you notice a pattern. I have seen the 30-page document and the evidence spoken of here. I won't be saying much else about the situation, as I legally can't. I'd appreciate it if you guys could at least give this a read. I believe Nairo and support his voice. I've read the 30-page document.
Oh shit, it's a fucking cut and paste.
Seen the evidence, and can confirm that they exist. I am legally bound from saying anything more, but I believe Nairo. I believe Nairo and I support his voice. Please read it fully. I have read through the 30-page document and seen the evidence, so I can confirm that it does exist. I am legally bound from saying anything more, but I believe Nairo. I am here to support his voice, so if you will, please just read through it. These tweets all display 3 common traits. They've seen the documented evidence, thus confirming it exists. They're legally bound to avoid questioning, and they request others to read Nairo's statement while expressing their own support. If we put Cosmos and Paradin's tweets side by side, they almost look identical, don't they? Isn't it odd that 9 minutes after Paradin's tweet, almost the exact same message is posted by Cosmos? Huh. Unless Cosmos was just plagiarizing for the fun of it, I think it's very possible that there was a group chat where they were all sent a template, or it was sent individually by either Nairo or someone involved with the case. Now, why is this a bad thing? Ask yourself, why would Nairo only get his closest friends to review his evidence just to post later on social media that it exists? Why would his attorney suggest increasing the legal liability of his client by having his friends read his defense, only to then sign NDAs? Why did every organization that unbanned him refuse to elaborate and then state that their investigation was ongoing? Even Nairo's attorney stated that he was so confident in the defense that should this go to court, he would, quote, ultimately exonerate him in a court of law. If this defense that no one has seen is so strong, then why isn't it an open and shut case? So many questions, and yet no answers. Alfarad, along with the original 3 from October, would once again post to show their support for Nairo by...
See, my guess would be that it wasn't what was said, right? It probably wasn't what was said initially. There was probably more of a consensual aspect to whatever happened between him and Captain Zach. But it comes down to probably money, right? Does anybody think that Captain Zach would be able to outspend Nairo in court? Probably not. Probably not. And that's probably what the play was. And the thing is, it's easy, right? If for whatever reason, look, because I don't know what's true in this particular instance, you know what I mean? But think about it like this. Captain Zach has a track record of doing some pretty ill shit, right? So it would be easy to walk back whatever you said prior, right? For Nairo to walk back whatever he said and weaponize whatever against Captain Zach. Now, I'm not saying this because I'm on Captain Zach's side or anything like that. I'm just looking at it from an objective viewpoint because I think Captain Zach is he's not a good dude. Let's be honest. He's not a good dude. He did some pretty heinous and ill shit to other people. So it would be really easy to then kind of renege on what you initially said about Captain Zach because he already had a reputation that preceded him of doing some really ill shit. So it'd be very easy to paint the picture that, oh, you know what? Captain Zach did it again, you know, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he didn't, but that seems to be what is being said here, right? It does seem kind of odd, right, that you have the closest people to you, which of course, what you would expect the people closest to you to back you up, right? Friends do that. Friends support each other at times, even when they're wrong. You know, it happens. So this is very interesting stuff. I didn't know that the video was going to take this turn, but let's see where else this goes.
Fueling the unbanned Nairo trend, which hoped to get his Twitch account unbanned. What reason do I, your average Joe, have to believe any of you? Seeing is believing, and unless Nairo starts delivering annual presents through my fireplace, I'm gonna need to see that 30-page document. I'd be more inclined to believe that this was skewed in Nairo's favor had they not been flirting publicly 2 weeks before the incident took place. So, excuse me if I have my reservations. Like, what the fuck is this tweet alluding to? We all know that Captain Zack and Ally had a relationship, and with the—
So it's kind of like what I said before, right? Could have potentially been that there was actually more of a consensual aspect to it, but after the fact, right? Regretting putting it out there after the fact, right? And easily painting Captain Zack, which again, that's Captain Zack's own fault. You know, Captain Zack decided to be the way he was and handle things the way he did. You know, so that's one of those things, right? Moving forward, where you have to look at a guy like Captain Zack, and it's just like you kind of built this foundation for your own demise if you end up crossing paths with people in the future. You kind of planted these seeds yourself by the way that you acted in the past. So
the context of fellatio a few weeks later, I can't help but get a bad taste in my mouth. No matter which way you slice it, Nairo had confirmed physical contact with a 15-year-old when he was 20. And in spite of that, and your average community member not knowing for sure if he's innocent, he's in the clear. At least I know for sure what ZeRo did and didn't do. Can't say the same for Nairo. Despite my position, I reached out to see if they fill me in on the case before making this video. The first person responded exactly how I expected, and Nairo's brother simply ignored me. So much for transparency, huh? Oh, this defense? This defense right here? I don't want to be that guy, but I can't even start to explain how effective this hypothetical defense would be. So I won't. Allegedly, some people think you fucked a kid. What other inspiration would you need to plaster this to every corner of the internet? I'm just saying, if I was a Smash figurehead, which I am, I would just keep someone banned if they don't want to publicly prove they're innocent. This is a gaming community. This is not a behind closed doors legal issue. This is a would parents look at this and approve issue. Fucking idiots, it's not complicated. However, this isn't the only place where the people in charge have made more than questionable decisions.
Oh, let's see. See, I didn't get a chance to see this part of the video, these parts that we're seeing right now, so.
As early as August 16th, the Code of Conduct was used to elaborate Hax's indefinite ban from the Melee community. The two infractions cited were the Level 2 offense of directed and malicious intimidation, harassment, or bullying of any participant, whether by language or conduct, and the Level 3 offense, most likely citing malicious gossip with the intent of manipulating the victim's social circle and defamation of character. Using this as their reasoning, a majority of prevalent TOs stood behind the decision by signing at the bottom. If that's the case, then it stands to reason that the same rules should apply to members of the same community, right? Well, that certainly would be the case if this weren't the kangaroo court we call Smash. According to the rules in this document, Jisu has committed 2 Level 3 infractions. One for physical assault, witnessed by her own apology for said physical assault, and another one for defamation of character, where there's literally legal action being taken against her for the sheer volume of lies I've gone over in full detail over 2 videos. Add on a Level 2 offense for harassment if we're going by the precedent set in the Hax case, and also enabling underage drinking, because fuck it, why not? Throw it in. Those are all infractions of rules set out in the Code of Conduct. And yet, after a trending hashtag and a video with over 300,000 views, absolutely nothing has been done. There's been no statement from the Melee community at all. If you want to know why, just ask your boy Slime.
Everyone knew that this was happening about this fucking technicals video. Everyone knew about it, and Jisu asked people to, if, you know, to like not give it, because she She was like, hey, this video is going to come out and it's going to fucking be really annoying and it sucks. And I'm like, damn, that fucking sucks. And she was like, can you like not engage with it, because attention is like the engine that feeds people like this Keemstar fellow. And I was like, yeah, sure.
That's right. Jisu just asked a bunch of high-ranking melee figures to not view the evidence that would come out against her. And they just complied without question. Isn't that convenient?
Hey, there's gonna be this video coming out. It's gonna be like really
makes you
fucking
wonder.
annoying, and I'm gonna have to deal with it. Can you guys just like fucking ignore it, please? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You want me to do what? Ignore it? Yes, ma'am.
I want
That's
you
why
to
people
go
get away
and
with
jump
shit,
off
right?
the bridge, please. Thank you. It's gonna be really annoying for me, but just like, can you go do that?
Yes, ma'am. Understood. These motherfuckers are like, what, like 30, 40? This is like some high school shit. They're sitting at the cool kids table. Where's my invite? Where's my extra pudding cup? What the fuck, man? Bearing in mind that Leffen is also guilty of defamation of character and harassment, by the rules that they laid out, he should also be banned. Actually, Technical, if you actually read the Code of Conduct, in Article 4, there's a statute of limitations for reporting, so, sorry, buddy. Let's just say I whip my dick out in front of a couple of children while playing friendlies. Now, normally, I would be put on a registry for the rest of my life. But Smash is actually quite unique, because as long as I threaten those children to not report it long enough, I'm in the clear, baby. Thanks to whatever geniuses masterfully crafted this document, my actions are put on the same playing field as malicious gossip and physical assault. Stalking is in level 4, but doxing is in level 3. Who the fuck? What? What the fuck? Who proofread this? Salem? This standard of proof in all cases shall be determined on a sliding scale from, at a minimum, a mere balance of probability for the least serious punishments, up to close to, but not as high as, proof beyond a reasonable doubt for the most serious punishments. Not only do they not need to prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt, but they can actually just ban you off a mere balance of probability.
See, that's a problem. That's a huge fucking problem. You know what I mean? Imagine that. Just hearsay and oh my goodness. See, and this is one of the issues we have, and this is why, like me, Oracro, and whoever else we talk about this, try to talk about this consistently. Why, substantiated evidence and facts are so important when it comes to stuff. You know what I mean? Giving people the ability to ruin someone based merely on conjecture, right? Or the most minimal of evidence, stuff that is nowhere near as vetted. That's a horrible precedent to set, right? And it would also make you think. It also kind of shows, the blatant favoritism that they have towards certain people in these situations. All they have to do is not like you enough, right, and take somebody else's word for it. And it's kind of like I go back to the Vic investigation, right, with Funimation, right? What essentially just equated to, oh, hey, we made a couple phone calls and these people seem credible, so that's enough for us. You know what I mean? It's more or less the same with whatever organization. I don't know which specific organization that was from, but if a lot of them echo these same kind of sentiment or go by the same kind of bylines, that's shit, man. That needs to change. That needs to change immediately.
God bless America. Panelists may draw an inference adverse to the accused who is asserted to have committed an offense under the Code of Conduct based on their refusal, without compelling justification after a request made in a reasonable time in advance of the hearing, to appear at the hearing and or to answer any relevant questions.
Wow.
Get this. If you refuse to go to a hearing, the panelists are allowed to think poorly of you.
Yeah.
And considering that in some cases, all they'd need is a mere balance of probability, that's all they'd fucking need. Why?
See, the problem with that is how do you could do that with any instant that is brought to you, that's brought to your attention. You could literally fake DMs, right? You could literally write fake DMs with somebody, right? And throw them completely under the bus, and they say, hey, that's all bullshit. And they're like, hey, well, we're going to have a hearing. You have to come to us, right? And state your case. And they're just like, oh, well, I guess you're just guilty then if you don't show up. That's insane to me that these organizations are this careless with all this shit, or this disorganized with shit like this?
Do they need a compelling justification so you don't get interrogated, but they don't need a compelling justification to ban you? Do you see what I'm getting at here? Any new evidence which may bring to light the innocence of the accused has a statute of limitations.
Why would it have a statute of fuck? Oh, okay. That's insane. This is ridiculous.
Of the duration of their initial suspension or ban? What does this even mean? If they find
that means if they don't prove fast enough what they're saying, right? Instead of like, I don't know, like in a case like ZeRo, right? Who's now saying he's taking legal actions, right? And you would think, of course, you're not going to go to a fucking organization and show your hand, right? The evidence that you have, especially if you're going to go through the actual legal process, which is the right thing to do. You know, your attorneys are not going to give up that information to give anybody an advantage in court, right? They're not going to show their hand to these fucking people that have no real power in the situation. Okay? Why would they do that? They're not going to do that. And then you're saying, well, okay, well, you didn't do it fast enough, so you're fucked. What? It's like, hey, I'm handling things through the court system. Well, we have to, what? It's just like, but you guys can't make any kind of real world determination outside of as things pertain to your event.
Find out you're innocent after your ban expires, they just won't fucking do anything. Sorry, time ran up. Can't do anything. Case closed.
It's ridiculous.
Regardless of who you are, this arbitrary set of rules was designed to fuck you over. And even though we know that Jisu and Leffen are objectively in the wrong, they're just going to continue to get away with it as long as we're quiet about it. Because if there's one thing these people actually care about, it's pretending to be a better person than you.
It's insanity, man. All right, we're almost to the end, guys.
When I first took on this case, I'll be honest, I had quite the few reservations about ZeRo. Some of you might even remember me saying things like, I can't do anything, I'm not a fucking miracle worker. But after thoroughly reviewing the case files, the motivations, the state bylaws, the contradictions, and the traffic violations, I came to where I am now. ZeRo's conversations with Katie were 100% irresponsible and wrong, in my opinion. The issue for me is that this isn't something that was caught in the
Irresponsible
moment.
and inappropriate.
This happened once 7 years ago when he was 19, and then never happened again. The only inference I can reasonably pull from that is that he either realized it was wrong and stopped it himself, or his mental maturity finally caught up with him after years of trauma and a lack of proper education. He's been with Vanessa for 5 years now, and they're happily married. I can't for the life of me point to anything that would correlate him being a current danger to children, like Leffen would suggest. ZeRo never exchanged images with Katie, which is his worst perceived crime to this day. Yet Nairo had undeniable sexual activity with a 15-year-old and has still not provided his full defense for his innocence. His attorney says that he could ultimately exonerate him, so why hasn't he? He made it sound really easy. If Nairo feels like his audience isn't owed a detailed explanation, then according to the severity of the allegations, he isn't owed a platform either. And you can tell your attorney I said that, because I'm not an 18-year-old, and I can promise you it's going to take a lot more than some half-assed legal jargon to make me fold. Given the lack of competence from those in charge, it's not surprising that Jisu and Leffen have also avoided accountability for this long. That doesn't really matter though, because a Sigma waits for no one, and as I've stated before, legal action is being taken. Whether you decide to support ZeRo in the future is entirely up to you. But let's stop this arbitrary game of deciding who is and isn't a redeemable person based off who we want to believe more. I'm not asking for justice. I'm not even going to ask you for an apology. You don't have to say anything. So I'll just say the only thing that's left to say. Welcome back, ZeRo. Read for yourself, ask the right questions, and who knows? Maybe you too can be a detective. But for now, this case is officially closed. Until next time.
All right, and there we have it. Good video from Technicals. Now, just real quick, we're going to go over ZeRo's video, and then we'll go ahead and close out the stream. Let's see. Because he was alluding to the fact that legal action would be taken, and that is something that ZeRo just mentioned here. So let's go over this real quick. I'll give some final thoughts on that, and we'll go ahead and wrap up the stream.
Hey everyone, it's been a long time since I've talked to you guys on this channel. As you may have heard, I was involved in some big allegations as of last year, and since then I have not uploaded to this channel. I have taken a break from social media and I pretty much just up and disappear. In this video, I want to clear the air about that and what the next steps are for this channel and me in general. To start off, you probably heard of all of this from a document made by Jisu, which was then later spread by multiple media outlets. This document contains a very large amount of lies, falsehoods, big exaggerations, and honestly, it is nothing more than a piece to assassinate my character and ruin my image to the general public. There is a lot to go over, but the easiest and best way to learn the truth is to watch these two videos made by Technicals, with one of them actually being released today. Technicals did extensive research for half a year to really dig the truth, interviewed many people, gathered so much evidence, and honestly, he put two pieces together that could explain what really happened better than I could with my own words. You will absolutely want to watch both of these videos fully to really learn the truth, see how everything happened, who is involved, and really just see how it all came to be. I've added links to both of these videos down below. A common misconception is that I have been framed as a liar and that I lied in all of my Twitter statements. This is not true. You can see this evidence in more detail in Technical's video. The reason I seem to switch stances is simply because at the time I did not have proper evidence, witnesses that came forward later, and I just did not have the full picture in front of me. I also lost a lot of faith in if the public will actually believe my side of the story, seeing how vicious people were during that period of time. Since at the time I pretty much only had my word and memory to defend myself, I figure it will be a lot easier to just apologize than to fight it. Obviously, now that I put it that way, I made a tremendous mistake.
Yeah, this is why if you guys have seen Ricada, and he says, and I agree with this, never apologize, right? You should never apologize for anything that you are not actually sorry for, or if you don't know what the hell it is you're apologizing for, don't. Just don't. You know, look at the situation. Look at the situation. You know, vet everything you need to, and then make your decision based on that. Don't just apologize blindly.
You have also probably heard of a so-called confession for my part. Simply put, this document is nothing more than a suicide letter that I wrote during a tremendous mental breakdown. I had fully planned to take my life right after posting that document because I pretty much lost all faith in that scenario, seeing so many of my close friends deciding to take the situation.
Now, that could be true, and it could also be bullshit, right? It could be now a little bit of, you know, just walking back after the fact. So remember, we got to keep that in mind just to be objective.
To throw me under the bus for personal gain, seeing how people were reacting in general, and me just feeling like I could not defend myself properly, pretty much took the last bit of hope that I had left, and I decided not just to give up, but to sabotage myself on purpose. If you have been watching my content for years now, it should be no surprise that I have been rather open about my mental struggles and depression in general. This is not my first fight with suicide, and for a long time, I have been really struggling with that line. But after taking time to reflect and think properly and review all of the evidence that came forward later on, I realized this was a big plot to assassinate my character and just destroy my life. Since then, I have retained legal counsel to take the necessary steps to deal with this scenario, and I'm also in the middle of a lawsuit with some of the involved parties in this case.
Okay, and to this point, right, if we're to believe, right, that he was, you know, that he was this immature, right, with the stuff that Technical said in life, that he's one of these guys that he didn't really think about bigger picture when it came to stuff, that he was socially awkward, didn't know how to take social cues, was very socially immature. You know, we take all that into account. If that's all true, right, then it would answer the question why he didn't think to immediately retain legal counsel, right? Maybe he didn't know that he could. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Like I said, it's not for me to say. I don't know the guy. I don't know how smart he actually is outside. I mean, just because he's a really good Smash player doesn't mean that he knows how to function as a proper adult in society. You know what I mean? Like I said, it seems like, you know, Technicals definitely in his video makes a good case that he could be very socially immature. It could be a guy that is very, you know, emotionally and you know, stunted in some things. Like I said, don't know him, so I can't say for sure. But that would have been the best approach, honestly, from the very beginning. If he had just retained legal counsel from the very beginning and be like, oh, hold on, wait a second. I'm going to talk to my lawyers because there's these people saying all this really heinous shit about me online. You know what I mean? They're coming out of the woodwork and they're dragging my name through the mud. Yeah, I'm going to talk to an attorney and see if there's anything that could be done about this. But like I said, it seems like he might have not had the wherewithal to do that. It's possible. Like I said, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have to look at it from that standpoint. Because again, I don't know this guy personally. You know what I mean? He could, like I said, like what was presented in Technical's video about him being just, this very immature guy that really didn't know how to function in normal society, or was, he's not very good at adulting, so to speak, right? It's possible. Got to look at that as a possibility.
This case is also more complicated than other cases because there's a lot of people involved. Some of the parties are completely anonymous, and this all makes taking the right steps extremely difficult. I am doing my best, but it is not easy. Now, I need to make this very clear to everybody watching this video. I have never received explicit images from any underage individual. I have never sent explicit images to any underage individual. I have never made travel arrangements with ulterior motives with any underage individual. I have never been touched in any shape or form any underage individual.
Okay, and just real quick, that's important what he said there, right? That he's never sent or received images, right? And the reason why is because if he is, right, if he is taking legal action against people, depending on who it is, right, including, for all we know, he's not going to specifically say who he's taking legal action against, right? But I think we could kind of make an assumption here. He's probably taken action against, and again, we don't know this for sure, but I think it's reasonable to assume that the people that he'll be taking action against is anybody that made these kind of claims, right? So we have probably Jisu, I think is reasonable. It's reasonable to assume that he'll probably be taking legal action against Jisu. He'll probably be taking legal action against Leffen, who is also perpetuating these claims against them, and possibly even the person known as Katie, right? Because she was putting this stuff out there too. Now, we don't know that for a fact. Again, that's pure speculation. And here's the thing. If he is, right? If he is taking action against Katie, the discovery will show whether or not there was any kind of images sent. You know what I mean? Depending on how long ago it was. Now, it's possible they might not find anything because things that are stored, that are deleted, right? If there was messages that were deleted, a lot of that stuff, might stay on servers for maybe a max of 7 years, and then they're cleared out. So there might not be anything to find at this point, right? If it was that long ago. Okay. But if there is, right, if there's any trace, any kind of trace of something, and it's still stored on a server somewhere, Discovery would presumably find it. So just something to consider right there. So, I mean, I guess he must feel very confident in what he's saying here, and that he is telling the truth, that, hey, I didn't send anything. Or maybe he's smart enough to know that at this point in time, there's nothing to be found because it'd be completely gone at this point, So let's go back here.
And I have never had conversations with only the intention to groom an underage individual or take advantage of them. Anything you may have heard or seen that suggests otherwise is a lie. Moving forward, I will not be addressing this topic publicly anymore, and I will let my legal team address anything that may surface from this topic. I am not putting myself out there for the game of social media allegations anymore. If you hear or see anything that may come up about this case in general, it is safe to assume that my team is taking care of it, but behind the scenes, not publicly. In terms of the future of this channel, I will be returning to make content. This will be in the form of Smash Bros videos or variety content as I was making before. I do not represent a danger or harm to anybody, and I do have the right to utilize my platforms and make the content that I want to make. Obviously, some things will be different, as some things cannot be repaired from this scenario, but my passion has always been to make quality content and to entertain people and make videos in general. And I feel like I can do all of that while staying in my lane and living my life. People have the choice, not the obligation, to watch or support my content if they wish to do so. But I do hope that those of you guys that are interested in watching my content again, give it a chance. I understand very well I am not fault-free here and I've made mistakes, but those mistakes do not represent the person I am today or the person I want to be moving forward. Change and reflection already happened many years ago, and I am a completely different person than when I was 19 years of age. Today, I'm married. I'm about to be 27. I want to start a family. I want to support the people that have been good to me, that are close to me. I want to entertain people. I want to chase my passion of creating content and making people laugh. And I just want to live my life. And that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. Content will resume tomorrow as of 10 a.m. EST as it was before. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys around. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, and there is ZeRo's response. I thought it was a decent response. Oh, we got Crow coming in. What's up? What's up, baby? What's going on? Talk to me, baby.
I've been back there for like an hour.
Oh, you.
Yep. It's just waiting in there for an hour, waiting for you to notice me. But I guess you don't notice me anymore because you're off doing your own streams now.
I apologificate.
No, you don't.
I didn't know you were there for a while. But go ahead. What do you have?
Hours.
Because I'm actually at the end here. I'm probably gonna go maybe about 10 more minutes or less. What do you have to say about this situation?
Oh, you know, what I'm wondering is, because I'm going to be watching Technical's video tonight, actually here in like 10 minutes. What's this situation with this whole Ice Cube DMs?
So the Ice Cube thing is, all right, this girl had claimed that ZeRo had told her to, do something with an Ice Cube, inappropriately, and send him a picture of it, right? The thing is, there's no message that says that has been presented.
Okay.
And the thing is, the only thing that we have is ZeRo's admission to it after the fact, right? What he claims to be his suicide note, right? Where he kind of said, yeah, look, all she said was true. I apologize to her. I'm canceling myself, all that, right? The Ice Cube thing was true. Anything she says in general was true. Which, again, that's the reason why nobody really looked into the situation, because they were like, okay, well, I guess that's that. Because if you have it, because again, and I'm going to reiterate this because you weren't here for this, but I said earlier, that's what it is for what people online really want. They either want an admission of guilt from somebody, or they want a piece of evidence that is irrefutable. You know what I mean? That it's like, okay, how are you going to explain that away? Because that looks pretty damn concrete. That looks pretty solid. That looks like a smoking gun to me. So in ZeRo's case, we had an admission from ZeRo, right? And not just any admission, but a specific admission. You know what I mean? Not just like this blanket kind of like, hey, yeah, I admit, I'm sorry, blah, that's it. No, he specifically was talking about that girl's story and the Ice Cube thing and all that. Oh, the Ice Cube thing is true, right? And that's all we have. Now, in the messages that have been put forth, right, between him and that girl, we don't see any indication of that. Like I said, it's just in the girl's statement. So again, ZeRo after the fact said, I didn't know what I was admitting to or what I was apologizing for. I just did it because I was thinking of self-deleting. So
well, okay, so I mean, if he's admitted to doing it, right? I kind of saw some statements where it's like, well, he was suicidal at the time, that sort of thing. I have no fucking clue. I mean, he's admitted to doing it. Now, I guess he's walking back the admission and saying it was because he was in a bad state of mind or something.
That's pretty much.
Okay. So we would literally laugh and make jokes about anybody else doing that. We would literally like how many times have we made the joke when someone does something like really stupid or like blatantly fucking retarded? Then we're like, oh, they're gonna go ahead and say they were in a bad state of mind. Oh, they're gonna say they were depressed.
Well, we did even with ZeRo. Remember, we did even with ZeRo. Like I said it, and I stand by what I said. I think it was fucking idiotic to admit to something that you didn't know. Like the fact that you said, I didn't know that when I said sorry that people would take that as an admission of guilt. Well, of course they would take that.
Well, let me put it like this. There's a chance that, he actually did do it. Yeah, that's where I'm looking at it.
Well, that's because there's always, it's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, because look, here's the thing. Obviously when it comes to the Jisu stuff and everything, she's a fucking idiot. And I'm not saying that this guy did or didn't do anything. What I am saying, though, is that she could have been going after him for something completely different, and also this thing too, right? Like, this could have been like an actual thing. Now, here's the problem. It was, 7 years ago?
He's 27 years old now, so it was like 8.
Okay,
8
so
years ago.
so
He was
so
19. He was 19 at the time.
Okay, so 8 years ago, maybe he was just in a fucked up state of mind and was just asking people to do fucked up shit because he was so fucked up in the head. It's possible, right? But at the end of the day, I'm leaning more towards, you know, it's like you said, it's not like he said, oh, you know, everything's true, I admit to everything. It was like, no, this person specifically who made this specific claim about me, they are telling the truth, right? Like that's a little different. And yeah, I'm willing to accept, you know, he could just been so fucked up in the head he literally didn't fucking care, because, you know, you're about to kill yourself. You probably don't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
It could be that too, but I could see why people are looking at it and it makes them hesitant. But at the same time, you know, my experience is when it comes to people, you know, pedophiles and shit like that, people that are attracted to underage individuals, they don't tend to stop with just one. Right, like you know, pedophiles and children
it's a compulsion.
Yeah, it's like pedophiles and children are like, you know, normal people and fucking Oreos. You can't just have one, right?
Like,
yeah,
they tend to escalate. You know, I mean, they don't stop.
That's terrible.
Said I'm just trying to get reactions out of you right now.
Oh my god, bro, what is this shit?
But it's true though, right? Like they literally don't stop. So if this is something that took place 8 years ago, I would expect there to be more kids who have come forward or more stories that have come forward, right?
Exactly.
The lack of that, right, combined with his state of mind at the time. I mean, I would just say, like, I would be suspicious. I would definitely, like, keep my eyes and ears open. But at the same time, like, we don't prevent somebody from enjoying life because we suspect that they might have done something. Right. If we can't prove anything, you can't, like, you really cannot stop them from, like, you know, making a fucking YouTube video because you think he might be doing something. That's fucked up. Yeah. Not like the other person said, Leffen is also a liar. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, you know, Leffen, yeah, we know that Leffen, is, you know, he's out. Leffen himself, remember, Leffen, he put himself out there saying, oh, yeah, there's no proof of this stuff, but you know what? Yeah, it's true. You know what I mean? Because, you know, Jisu says so, even though there's no hard evidence to prove any of it.
Jisu is, like, literally brain damaged. I don't know what to fucking say. Like, that girl knows that she's in some hot shit. And it's just like fucking around. It is nuts. Fuck that girl.
Yeah, you're going over this too, right, Crow?
Yeah. I'm actually gonna watch Technical's video. I had some stuff I'm gonna talk about first.
Let's talk about this stuff.
Well, I am, but like normally when I open up the stream while I wait for people, I open up with some other subjects, you know, just really briefly. Like, you know, Streamlabs fighting with OBS.
Oh God.
Right. Yeah. We have the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer.
Oh, I'm just
gonna play the one thing. Well, you asked sorry. So Sen asked, and I was just answering his question. Yes, my stream will be much better. You guys, it's starting pretty soon. You should all just join it. Fuck this John guy. Yeah. Anyways, I'll be back later. Bye.
You know, he loves me. You know, you love me. But I will link Crow's stream in the chat for those of you that want to check it out, because he'll be going over the ZeRo stuff too.
Yeah, I got to get lunch, dinner actually, because you know what happened.
Yep. I saw. So, yeah, he's going to be up in a couple minutes here. But look, my final thoughts on this stuff is, you know, we don't know. As I always say, you know, we don't know what we don't know. Is it possible that ZeRo did some heinous things with this girl? Yeah, possibly. But he seems pretty confident in the fact that there's nothing that's really going to come of it when he takes us to court. So we'll see. We'll see how that all pans out. Now, he has taken the smart moves of saying, hey, look, I'm not going to speak about this publicly anymore because it's now in the hands of the law and whatever. This is my only statement on it. This is all I'm going to do, which, look, this is the right thing to do. And this is honestly what people should do in these types of situations when it comes to allegations like this, especially if you're in a situation where there's somebody coming out of the woodwork making claims of something that happened a long time ago. They can't substantiate it, but they seem to be on this campaign of potentially ruining your reputation. Now they want justice, you know, 7 years later, what have you. you know, the way people should react in a situation like this, at least somebody that is accused and has the profile of ZeRo, is exactly like this. Now, this is what he should have done first instead of admitting to stuff, because that kind of muddies the waters a little bit. And it does give people room to doubt and say, well, that seems kind of weird, you know, even though, again, I can't speak to ZeRo's mental state. Could he have made these admissions because he was planning on self-deleting? Sure, I can't dismiss that possibility. You know what I mean? And like I said, Technicals does make a good case for him in the sense of how the kind of person he was, you know. Again, we got to kind of take that at face value too, because for all we know, ZeRo could be a malicious person. I don't know. Could just be a very weird guy. I don't know him personally. I've never had any conversations with him. But again, that's another possibility that we have to at least consider. Right, is that these things that Technical presented in his video are true about him and his character, that he is just not a guy that knows or didn't know how to adult very well at a time when he was legally considered to be an adult. So take that for what it is. I guess we'll find out as the months go on here what ends up happening with this entire situation. If there's going to be some kind of settlement, I would assume that if there is some kind of settlement in this particular case, there'll be probably some statements put out, and then everybody will probably move on from it. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But if I were ZeRo, obviously one of the things I would want is for Jisu and whoever else was putting stuff out there that was unsubstantiated to issue, you know, a public apology, and then also say that they are going to keep my name out of their mouth if I was him. So I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. So thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you, Chilled. Who else we got here? BMA Joe A, Side 79, Sen and Crow for joining last minute there. Like I said, link for Crow is in the chat. Titan Master J, thank you. Thank you for the super chat earlier. Thank you, Demon King Drago. You are the stream daddy or stream mommy if you prefer. Xylee Gets Real, Skip, and whoever else I missed here in the chat, I apologize. Oh, Andrew Hagar, Gabe the Gen. Thank you guys so much for joining tonight. And whoever else I might have missed, I will catch you guys on the next stream. But I appreciate each and every one of you hanging out here tonight, and I will catch you all on the next one.